This video was published by mbkpinternational.com. In this video we're going to talk about replacing the cut button on the XPC19 Pro paper cutter. And I just got a couple sample buttons out here so you can see how it works. It's a little bit easier to see here than when I open up this electronics department and show you. This is basically the flat part here, this cardboard, and there's the cut button. And here's the back part. There's a couple different type of cut buttons here, and this is one here is the most common one, but this is becoming more common, so I'm going to do them both. But on this one particular one here with this white tab, it'll have wires on it here, 2 wires, 1 and 2. But to get it off, you just push down on this white tab and pull. So you're going to push down and pull off. Okay. And this comes off. It's just a screw piece here, with plastic. You don't use tools to tighten it, but if you can't get it off by hand, you can use like some large channel locks to loosen it, and then to get it by hand from after that, because you're going to be replacing it anyway. But you don't want to use tools to tighten it because you can break it because of plastic. Basically, just tighten it as good as you can by hand, and that's basically how it works. You're going to have there's basically two pieces to this cut button, or actually there's a few pieces to this side, but there's a piece there, the screw cap, the screw. And when you're putting this one back together, there's a single channel here. If you rotate around, there's a double channel there. There's 2 channels there. The 2 channels is the bottom. The single channel slot is the top. And just basically that single channel goes straight to the top of this white piece here. And it snaps in. Push it to release it. Snaps in. It's only going to slide in there. If you try to do it anywhere else, it won't. If you try to do it that way, it won't. It's just that top part there with the single channel is going to slide into it. That's how that one works. Here's another one you may come into. It's a little bit different. You don't push down on it. It's just a tab you push over to the side and it releases. And this one will say top on the part. I don't know how well you can see that there, but it's got a little slot at the top, and basically top is just top of this thing straight in, and lock it in. Unlock, remove, put it in, lock. That's good. It's got pretty much the same type of piece here, but it is different as far as it doesn't have the channel, so you have to use the one for this when you can't. When you replace this, you have to replace both pieces. Okay, there's that one, and here's this one. You've seen how it worked. I'll just show it, putting it on here real quick. You'll take these 3 pieces, you'll slide it into the front here, which is the front here, like that, and around back you're going to put this plastic one on, the cut portion down on it, and the flat part up here. You're going to tighten it down here, and just tighten this down as hard as you can by hand. As hard as you can by hand. And I didn't really watch it there, but let's see. You need to rotate this before you tighten it down to get that single slot on top. There's that single slot again I told you about. It needs to be on top. The double slot on the bottom. And on this case here, it had a little square part that said top. So that way it slides right in. You'll know where to slide right in, and just you'll hear it snap into place, but you want to pull it to make sure. That's how you attach these. There will be some wires involved, and I'll show you that on this cutter. So let's just put this up here, and we're going to open this cutter. The only thing you're going to need is a couple Phillips screwdrivers, or you really only need one, but a short one, because it's hard to get these with especially this one right here with a long one. So you want a short screwdriver for this. You want to unplug your cutter from power first before you open this electronics department, but that's what we're going to do. I'm going to remove these 3 screws here with a short screwdriver, and I'll also remove these 3 Phillips here, so 6 of them. Okay, I removed all 6 Phillips screws, and then you're just going to take this and you're going to slide it forward. And slide it out and put it to the side. And again, you want this cutter unplugged from power, not just turned off, but unplugged from power. And it is unplugged from power over there, because even with it turned off, if it's plugged in, there's still some residual power going through that you could shock yourself on something in here. Now, we do have a video on checking these cut buttons to see which one is bad, and this basically is if you're having problems with the cutter, just stopping in the middle of a cut, not necessarily cutting paper, but just stopping in the middle of a cut. And sometimes these buttons go bad, so it's basically a button that turns itself off and stops the cut. And to find out which one, we do have a video on that, and you can watch that as well. But I'm just going to replace a cut button in this video. We'll just do this left one here, and we'll come back here. And you can see these got wires on it. And this one's actually, I've never seen this before. This one actually got the old button on it. It's not necessarily the old button, but there's 2 different types. I've seen this one first, where you push down and remove. Like I talked to you. But this one over here has got the other one where you unlock it and remove it. I usually use the same buttons. I've never seen that before. But anyway, I'll do this one and we'll replace it with the other one, the white one. That way they're the same buttons. So again, I'll put that back on real quick. You're just going to snap this to the side here, whichever side it's not, pretty much. In this case, it's snapping it to the left and just slide it off, and you'll have the wires connected to it still. And then you're going to reach, I usually hold it here with my thumb pushed in so it doesn't spin on you. And then you're going to loosen this nut that we showed in the beginning of the video. And there it came off, the nut and the plastic ring. And then this will come straight out like so, 3 pieces. I'll put that there. And let's put this one in. That's the same as that one, so we're going to put this in so they're... And again, they go in the same way. They look fairly similar, but they work the same way, but they're different as far as how they come off and stuff. This is the one with the push tab. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to look for there's the double one. So I'm going to rotate it on the opposite side as the single slot. So I'm going to put the single slot to the top, slide it in there. Let's see. Slide it in, single slot to the top. I'm going to push here with my thumb to hold it. And I'm going to put this on first, the cut portion towards it with the flat part out. I'm going to have them both in my hand, so one on top of the other like that. I'm going to slide it in and start screwing the plastic nut. You don't want to cross thread it. It should go on nice and easy. I was crossing a little bit there. So it went on nice and easy. Nice, need to check, make sure that slot's still on the top. And it is. I'm going to hold it again in front, and I'm going to tighten this black plastic nut about as hard as I can tighten it. Okay. Now we're gonna, this will not fit on that one. They're 2 different ones. It came from this button. They're slightly different. So what we're gonna do, it doesn't matter. You're gonna be taking off with it. Whichever button you have, you'll be taking it off of. You're just gonna be taking off both these wires. There's just 2 wires to it. And on both these buttons, there's only 2 possible connections. 2 possible connections there. This one there's nothing in that, so there's a possible connection. There's usually one on the top and one on the bottom. That's the way it's always been. There's nothing in there. And it doesn't matter which wire goes to which, just as long as you get 1 wire on each side. And the only thing I want to mention about that is sometimes this has black plastic, or it always has black plastic on it, seems to. Just make sure that black plastic is not covering this portion here. If it is, you can take a little razor and slice it off, because you want to make sure you're not clamping down on any of that black plastic. It's only on metal you're clamping down on when you put this in. So let's do this. Just got to loosen this up a little bit to create so we can slide that in. Okay, there's a gap in it there. And the other side too. Okay. And we're just going to put these in the slots here. And this fork goes under the square piece, not just under the screw itself, but under the square piece there too. There's like a square top to that thing. And we'll just slide it in and snug it down. Okay, there's that one. And you find the other wire. Here's the other wire. And you're going to be coming in from this angle here like this, across the number there. Slide it right under the square piece and tighten it down. Okay, now I'm just gonna get a little better angle on this and just snug them nice and tight here. Okay, they're both nice and tight. And now this is the top on this white one, and that channel's on the top, so this should just get the wires out of the way as good as possible, and then just slide it right into and it'll snap in when it goes in. Oh, maybe in the way here, back up the camera a little bit. It snapped, and you can always tug on it the other way to make sure it doesn't come off. Make sure it did snap in place. You can push and wiggle, make sure it snaps in fully. Push in and wiggle, make sure it snaps in fully, and then tug out to make sure you got it snapped in. It's locked in place basically. So that's basically it on that. You've seen how this other one, if we were putting this other button on instead, which could be a possibility in the future. It depends on which one they're going with. It'd be that part there says top, and you'd be going in there and locking it in place like that with that plastic piece in the nut already on. There's 2 different ones. That's basically it. The only other thing I would say is you may want to check the other end of these wires where they go to, and I'll show you how to do that. The only other thing I'd say to check is the wires on this board. And this button here, the right cut button with these red wires, you can actually pull on these wires a little bit and see the wires that are moving on the board. It's this plug right here for the right cut button. It's number 34, P34. Just make sure these wires here on the plug is not backing out. Make sure it's plastic all the way up to the plug. Sometimes you'll see one of these wires back out, or this is not plugged in good onto the board. That could be another issue why your button's not working, so that's why I'm telling you to check this. Just make sure it's plugged in good to it with the wires all the way in there, not backing out of the plug. And the other one is this yellow wire. And your wires could be different colors, so don't go by the color I'm saying here, red and yellow. They change the colors all the time on these things. It's I believe, let me pull on it. I think it's this one right here, I think. Yeah. It's this one right here. P31. And again, these numbers could change in the future. I haven't seen them change in a long time, but they could change. Or even the position, boards can change and the positions can change on this. So you can find your own by pulling on these wires, you know. You can see which one it is. So again, check the wire, make sure that they're not backing out of the plug. And then just make sure it's plugged in good to the board. Both prongs, there's 2 prongs in this thing. Make sure it gets both prongs all the way down on it really good. Push down square and straight. And just make sure no wires are backing out there. So that's basically it. Just make sure the wires are plugged in good to the board, because that's the other end of these buttons, that potential why they wouldn't work is if it's not plugged into the board good. That's basically it on how we're just going to reverse this and put this. When you come with this, just go in nice and slow. Just straight in. You will sometimes have to lift up on this just slightly, just to get it above that lip on top of that. And sometimes it kind of drags onto this. You can just pop it into place. And once you get in, you're basically just gonna. You usually have some play in this. Some have more than others, but there's usually a little bit of play to line up these screw holes. You want to make sure these screw holes are lined up as good as possible. There's 6 of them, and then you're just gonna start putting in these screws. I'll put one in here. I'll start. You just want to get them all started first before you tighten them down. Get them all started first. That way you can shift this some if you need to line up a screw hole over here or something like that. Get them all started first, and once they're all started, you can tighten them all down. That's basically it. This video was published by mbkpinternational.com.